G'day guys, and welcome back to the garage. In today's video, we're going to continue on with the little R10, trying to get it started. So all I'm going to do today is clean up the jets, the inside of the carburetor, remove the plugs, clean them up. Not going to replace them. I don't think there's any point in replacing them if they're okay. Wind it over a little bit by hand with a hand crank, and then from there we'll hopefully wind it over on the battery on the starter motor without any spark plugs, and then we'll install some spark plugs, check to make sure we got some spark, and see if we can't get it going. So hang on guys, we'll get that going right after this. I'm just over here on the bench in the shed, in the garage rather. I'm just going to pull this top of this carby apart. It's interesting to think that probably, I think that's 11 mil, the last person to be in this carburetor was probably Bruce Collier. Might not be exciting to some people, but Bruce is an engineer, a mechanical engineer. He's 94, 95 now. Jeez, I can't believe the condition that's all in. It's in really good nick, considering where it's been for the last God knows how long. Goodness me, even that filter's in really good nick. A little bit of carby cleaner.
So this is not a full rebuild on this carburetor. It's just just cleaning it out so that we can hopefully get fuel. Fuel into the engine. Now it's going to sit that way. I might just put that like that. Alright, so there's our 45 Weber, top of our Weber's done. So we'll slip back out and I'll pull all the jets out and we'll have a look at them. So I've been back to the car and I've got the jets out of the carburetor. Everything looks all reasonably clean. Bit of a spray down through the emulsion tube. Bit of a go through the jet. That one's nice. You can actually see on these that they're the fuel that was running through this, the older fuel, they're actually quite nice and clean. If you see one that comes out of a car that's been running modern fuel, you'll notice it's I'm just stretching that out a little bit to make it fit in there a bit better. It's not a very good fit, it's a bit loose. They're all gummed up. As soon as they dry, they're all gummed up around here. So that's just another reason why you should never let your Webers dry, or your carburetor, any sort of carburetor for that matter, with modern fuels, because they're not modern fuels aren't too good. So that's the main jets, and it's running, I think, 140. 140 mains. I'm going to put the 35 pump jets back in it. Let's have a look at these idle jets. It's pretty clean. Don't know what size they are. Not a very good fit. Squeeze that one down a second. Oops. Bit of cleaner there on the camera. Maybe not all that good for it. Too much of a squeeze. Anyway, that's all I'm doing for tonight's video. So that's the that's all I'm going to do for today. Okay, so I've got the spark plugs out and filled up the cylinders with WD the other day, as you saw on the last video. I've hooked up a battery with a couple of jumper cables. I'll show you what I've done there. I don't think the battery's going to have the amount of power that I'm going to need to start it under compression, but hopefully it'll turn over. So I'll just grab the camera and show you what I've done in there, and then we'll switch a few things on and see what happens. Just find our way up the front here under the trees. So all I've got in there is a battery. I've had that battery for a while. I keep it on charge. It's not really all that flash. It's really only good for as a bit of a helper every now and then. In the car, I've got the keys in the ignition. I'll turn them on, turn the ignition on, and I've got my trusty old jump start button here, which is already hooked up to the starter motor. So I've pulled all the spark plugs out. As you can see, I have turned it over by hand, and it does turn quite easily by hand, so that's all good. So let's put some power on the battery and see what happens. So I've got the power on to the battery. I got my little starter here, starter switch. I'll just see what's going to happen. And there's fuel coming out of the fuel pump, so we know the fuel pump works. Compression seems to have okay, so it's got compression on all 4 cylinders. It's turning over. I don't think it'll turn over with the spark plugs in it. I'll just pull this back a bit. We'll just see if we got any spark. I really like holding these. If I get a zap, well, you'll hear me scream. There's no spark, so I'm just assuming that the points need a little bit of work. Dizzy cap looks alright. The button's a bit burnt, that needs a bit of cleaning. There's a little bit of spark at the points, but we'll clean them up and adjust them and see how that goes. So I did clean the spark plugs up. They came up quite well, so I'll bung the spark plugs back in. That way there's less holes for any creatures or anything to get into.
Well, that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully in the next video we might have it turning over and starting, I hope. you couldn't see it in that video, but I had to disconnect the fuel line because there's obviously fuel in the fuel tank, and the pump's working quite well and was pumping fuel everywhere. Spark plugs are back in. I will have to clean up the distributor cap. It's a bit dirty and carbonised inside, plus the middle point, the spring's gone where it goes to the coil. I do have some other dizzy caps, so I'll probably replace that with one of those. Also, the rotor button, if you can see, has got a brake just here. So I'll probably, and it's black as anything, so I'll probably replace that as well out of one of the other distributors. There was some spark from the points while the battery was sort of still working. Didn't take much for that battery to die in the backside, so we might have to look at taking a battery up there that's got a little bit more oomph in it. So yeah, so hopefully in the next video, the Will It Start series, we'll have a little running engine. That's it for now, guys. Don't forget to drop a like, share, like, subscribe. If you like the videos and you want to see how it ends up, don't forget to hit the little bell to get your notifications. Well, that's it from Paul's Garage. Hope you're enjoying it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for that.